Well, hello, everybody. Good to see you. We are live. It's Friday. It is February 23rd, 2024. We are live and alive, my friends. How are you all doing? We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're good now. We're good. No matter how many times you think you have things set up for live streaming, something always falls through. I've already explained it before. Live streaming is like carrying a huge load of laundry, and every time you take a step, you drop a load, like a sock. And every time you bend down to pick up that sock, you drop a couple of more laundry items as you're carrying your load of laundry from the dryer to the couch. So we got a lot of heavy topics today. So today's going to be a really good stream. We got three main topics. The first one talking about Next Benedict, the 16-year-old non-binary child that has passed away recently due to a very um, ugly situation of bullying. It's kind of unclear as to exactly how she died. They fuck. And so yeah, we're going to be covering that. And then we have Jodi Hildebrandt and we have Ruby Frankie that have recently been sentenced. And we're going to go over their sentencing videos and their statements and things like that. And then we're going to be talking about the Alabama law that has recently come out to declare embryos as children. So we're gonna get into the nitty gritty on that. And then of course we always have a palate cleanser at the end of the day, and we're just gonna look at some space stuff. So um yeah. So So we're gonna get there. By the way, I'm just if I seemed just a little off, I'm just been really upset about the next situation. So much that I feel like I can't even think. Like my head is kind of cloudy over the situation. So I really do want to talk about that first and just get it out of the way and then be able to move on. But it's really emotional situation. I feel like I just I'm tripping over my own words about it and stuff. So, anyways, let's see who's in the room. Let's see. We got Becca. Hello. We got Altair. We got Cassidy in the house. We got Patricia. Spectral Deviant. Always good to see you. Nanau. Nanu? Nanau? I don't know how. Is it Nano? Nanu? Like Nanu or Nanau? Ooh, Nanu. Nanu. Like that? Nanu. Thank you. Thank you for helping me with that, Nanu. Okay, so it's Nanu. Welcome, Nanu. And we have Lucifer. Always good to see Lucifer. Always gracing us with his presence. So yeah, we're just gonna just kind of chit chat for a little bit before we get into our subjects. I'm really eager to watch the Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie sentencing videos. I have watched them. I watched it Tuesday morning before work, but I didn't have time to process it or think about it. So it's going to be really good for me to watch over it again and actually have time to commentate and think about it and just like talk about what is said. So that's going to take up a lot of time. The whole Alabama law thing with declaring embryos as actual children, so many conversations to sprout off from that. I don't know. So anyways, if you're just coming in, please hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Vibrational. Hey, Vibrational says what? Hey, Patricia. Yeah, so the state of Alabama has ruled that embryos, whether frozen or not, like, they're considered children. Like, they're considered a person. And I have so many questions with that logic. And it gets deeper, though. There is some deep stuff going on with there. I'll tell you what, there are some people in the woodworks. So, I don't know if you've noticed, but I have cut and dyed my hair. My hair is cut and dyed. So the top has been thinned out and shortened, and it's all dyed black now. And my eyebrows are dyed too, so I don't need to like pencil them in anymore. So it's a bit frizzy from the dye. It needs some conditioning, but I'm really liking how short my hair is right now. It's a lot more manageable, and it doesn't stick in my eyes. Like, before the haircut, my hair was like hanging down, like down to my lip. Like, it's really, like, it was really heavy. So I'm really enjoying having it like actually, you know, manageable. Like, I kind of like, I like having hair like in front of my eyes and stuff, just enough to play around with, but I don't like hair in my face. And I go through phases sometimes where I'm like, I really want to have long hair, and I'll grow it out. And then after a while of dealing with long hair, I'm like, this is too much. And then I cut it. I cut it because I don't know. My hair is so thick, and just like the longer it gets, the more crazy it gets. And it's just so much easier to deal with it when it's short. So I don't mind long hair looks, you know. I could just get a wig or like hair extensions and clip them into my hair. I should do that sometime. I should get some like long black like hair extensions and like just have that option of looking like I have long hair. Spectral says, I'm from Alabama. The stream is the first I've heard of it. Really? It's like all over the news right now. All over the news. Hey, Cassie. Cassie says, I bet hair extensions would drive you nuts. I could take them out, at least. I should just get a wig. Like Gottfried Leibniz. You know who was fabulous and wore wigs? Leibniz. And what did Leibniz do? He was the father of calculus. Speaking of calculus, let's see, calculus update. Me and Susan are working through our calculus course. It's been going really well. And we had an interesting math session just the other night. And we had to just go over some basics because it's really interesting. You start learning some complicated things in math, and then like there's a part where you're like, I need to go over something like super basic for a minute for some reason, you know. And so we had that moment and just talking about like how it's okay, like you could do that, like just make sure you know things. So calculus has been really enjoyable, and especially like learning calculus with Susan. Like she's a really good teacher. No wig? Are you kidding? Have you seen Leibniz? Oh my God. Leibniz. Yo, that motherfucker wore the most fabulous fucking wigs. And he was a fucking math genius. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Leibniz was tits. You guys all miss the horns. I just need to attach horns to my new headphones. Like, so I do have the headphones with horns on them, but when I got them, they're really small and tight and they hurt my head. So I have these, and it's funny because it has this microphone on these headphones that, like, doesn't actually work. At least I can't get it to work, but so I don't really use it. Like, I could probably just, like, snip it off, to be honest. But, like, I just need to... I have more horns. I can put, like, horns on these. But, you know, you're probably right. Like, the horns need to come back. I mean, for God's sakes, I'm Jan Daemon. It's kind of my thing. But anyways, Leibniz and his wigs. Hello. So it's like, man, you really gonna, like... Don't be knocking wigs, man. Like, Leibniz had it together. I think, wasn't there something where, like, people had a problem, like, while Leibniz was alive, and they were, like, complaining about his wigs, and he was just like, fuck you, or something? How come we don't have a philosophy of wigs? How long is this? Oh, this isn't too long. Let me see this for a minute. Bump. Is there something we can listen to? No. Just one step from waste matter, the lowest low, and embodiment of falsehood and vanity. The wig has never belonged in the sphere of thought. Why? All these motherfucking, like, philosophers, and they never once talked about their wigs. As with clothing and other trivialities, daily life, for instance, anything branded as banal is of no concern to the philosopher. Or not at least to the philosopher who develops his ideas in the vast empire of the footnote on passage from Plato, the coordinates of which are fixed by immutability and performance. Man, this is wordy as shit. Or permanence, sorry. An absurdity in comparison with the problem of being, contingent and insignificant in the face of need, doubly contemptible for its seductive dimension and perceptible impurity. Hair has no place in the hierarchy of illustrious topics, and much less the wig, which is simulacrum. What the fuck is that word? Fluttering in the wind, far removed from the duty of imagination, would almost seem flaunt in its unreality. I have never in my life seen or thought of or read or contemplated such a heavy criticism, a heavy philosophical criticism of wigs. I'm so happy I discovered this right now. This is so funny. This is hilarious. But there was a time when those philosophers, intolerant of all things, hirsute, those mindsets restraint to the smaller things in life, are contaminated by non-being, sheltered under exuberant, well-groomed wigs. 2 long centuries during which the elevated discourse philosophy, staunch expurgator of the trivial, found the ritual of donning another's hair essential. Why did none of those male philosophers give a second thought to the perturbating organic mass that crowned their heads each morning? Had the infamy of existence and the degradation of the ordinary reached such extremes as to leave no room for question about that hairy architecture, about that mammalian headwear that gazed back at them from the mirror on a daily basis? If a meeting of philosophers had been organized in classical antiquity, the most celebrated of them, beginning with Socrates and Diogenes, would have proudly exhibited a smooth forehead, brilliant in every sense of the word. Despite the fact that Plato was only able to display latent receding hairline, and that Aristotle, Epicurus, Heraclitus, and Parmenides all had quite flourishing tresses. In the archetypal images, the Greek thinker is bald as a coot, with a thick compensatory beard, but devoid of impetuous teeth. The words in this, I can't even say them, of youth. That is the picture that Cincius, the most valiant of bald men, records and transmits in his praise of baldness. The praise of baldness? Really? We're gonna have like a huge philosophical debate about like baldness? The philosophy of wigs? This is really okay. This is some tea. This is some philosophy tea, okay? Wigs or no wigs? Should we do a poll? Should great philosophers have wigs or not wigs? Like, do wigs make a difference? In part to do justice to his own devastated scalp, but also to stress that hair, the animal accident, that unpredictable superfluous attribute, has nothing in common with the heights of abstraction. If his humorous text is to be believed, the majority of his classical philosophers lived in the state of asymmetry, that tension between barren pate and populated understanding. Hair by Lady Gaga. If a collection of the bust of Greek philosophers could be mistaken for a museum of androgenic alopecia, in which the marble itself contributes to the mirage of a melancholy exhibition of full moons in the modern era, less given to statutory and assembly of that nature, which could include samples of wigs. Descartes, Locke, Leibniz, Berkeley, Hume, Kant, and all have a place reserved in the grand album of the hairpiece. And although the philosopher himself might brand it as frivolous, strictly exclude from higher authority, it is worth considering the consequences of the fact that modern philosophy, incapable of applying Occam's razors to its own excrescences, to its unquestioned habits, achieves its fulfillment in the shelter of some form of hairy bonnet. Damn. This criticism of wigs is like beyond anything I've ever heard of in my life. I'm like, honestly, and you know what's so funny? I'm reading this and I'm thinking about like cosplay wigs for anime. Like, just thinking of like, this article is literal art, isn't it? This is a delight. Like, this is amazing. This is an amazing article. Like, what is happening here? This is the most profound thought about a wig. Somebody sat down. Who wrote this? Luigi Amara on the curious place of hairpieces in the age of enlightenment. Is there a book? There is! The wig! I have to get this book. Are you kidding me? A whole fucking book? Dedicated to the philosophical questionings of wig. The Wig, A Harebrained History by Luigi Amara. Luigi Amara. What in the fuck is this going on? Oh my God. Just one step from waste matter, the lowest of low, an embodiment of falsehood and vanity. The wig has never belonged in the sphere of thought. Oh! Oh! Oh, Reginald! I disagree! Descartes, who thought wigs were beneficial to health, had at least 4 in the color of his actual hair. It is uncertain if this was because they allowed him to pass unnoticed and so continued the unsociable and solitary lifestyle he preferred, or he collected them because they were formidable confirmation that everything related to the body and appearance is volatile, secondary, non-essential. Kant's wig, in contrast, was white, stiffer and more codified, and while, to judge by James Boswell's description of their meeting, it was so ill-fitting that his servant was constantly employed in straightening it. Yo, this is some tea. This is some tea on philosophers. Yo, everybody get your tea, okay? Raise your pinkies. Here we go. Are you kidding? This is delicious. All right. You've got to be kidding. I got to read this book. So Kant's wig was so, like, fucked up and stiff that, like, there was literally somebody employed to, like, fix it constantly. This is amazing. The greatest minds of the world were just so infatuated with her fucking hair. Okay. Ooh, I love this. I am just, like, tickled pink, frankly. I have to get this book. He was never without it, as if the hairpiece were the literal condition of the possibility of his experience. I don't know. I can't even, like, describe how amusing this is. This is so funny. It's like the greatest minds that we have in the world. And there's just like the wigs. Like, what's with the wigs? He was never without it, as if the hairpiece were a literal condition of the possibility of his experience. Oh, that is some shade. The necessary frame, a short hirsute a priori of his public and professional lives. I'm sorry. I hope enough of you are like philosophy nerds enough to just like get how funny this is. What is this? A picture of, oh, look at them wigs. In the 17th and 18th centuries, the use of wig was also widespread, that not even such an enemy of superfluous words, Jan, adornment as Jean-Jacques would have had the courage to spurn it, having resolved to strict himself to a diet of independence and austerity that eschewed any form of sophistication and luxury, rather than wholly dispense with his wig. The defender of the noble savage and the return to nature exchanged it for a simpler model. Was it still a mark of distinction even for those who constantly insisted on the equality of all men? Shade. Was the hairpiece perched upon the social body so ubiquitous that it became invisible even to the champions of sapieuse, the proponents of independent thought and enlightenment? Could it be the very genealogy of importance they contribute to tracing? That definition of what could be considered to fall within the realm of philosophy, that reality stratified by rank, made them incapable of reflecting on that age-old custom. So it never even crossed their minds that the wig was in fact a figure of ostentation and excess pomp and appearance, the outrageous trophy of its visibility. Could it be that the wig in some way thought in them through them, like a reflection of that unnoticed but standardizing and disciplinary weight with which society its symbolic practices structure and give form not only to thought but to the body? God damn! This guy is roasting these motherfuckers in their wigs. Like, he is roasting them so hard. I have to read this book, yo. We're almost done. Such questions were never even posed. The philosophers might groom their wigs each night and ensure that they were made by the finest coiffeurs in Paris. But although they were the only separated by the thin wall of the cranium, thought and the wig never met. Although the wig... I have to read that again. But although they were only separated by the thin wall of the cranium, thought and the wig never met. With the possible exception of Leibniz. Yes! Leibniz is always the exception. Do not question Leibniz. Who, in the spirit of the Barque, elaborated a philosophy of the facade, and by extension of the wig, of the need for a division between independent monadic thought and that other sphere which offers itself to society and deals with its conventions and obligations. Their concerns their concerns moved in the opposite direction from what was nesting on their heads. If philosophy could no longer turn its back on the world of appearance without suffering the consequences, it did not seem prepared for the scandal of the simulacrum, that discordant third party that does not aspire to being a copy of anything, that subverts the opposition between the model and the copy, and with the barefaced cheek of its artifice simply intends to produce an effect. Fuck me. Was the hairpiece perched upon social bodies so ubiquitous that it became invisible even to the champions of the proponents of independent thought and enlightenment? I love that. Aren't we done soon? Oh yeah, we're done soon. Let's see. With their attachment to the trifling, those who address such superfluous issues as hair do not belong in the lineage of philosophy. Hair does not belong in the lineage of philosophy. Although they perhaps find a place in literature or open provocation, the mere questioning of which themes merit. Why can't I pronounce words? I've been doing pretty good with words so far. Pronouns. Ulucid. Yeah, whatever. I don't want to practice.
Elucidation.
Elucidation. Oh, that's easy. Anyways, the mere questioning of which seems merit elucidation is an act of dissidence, a step outside hegemonic tradition due to the nonconformity of the gesture, the eccentricity of the quest. The person who does question must be willing to bear disdainful references, a jugular of insignificant trifles, a hunter of trivialities, a clown of thought. After adding a touch of humor and irreverence to Platonic dialogue to stop it walking on air, as he explained, Lucian of Samosata, author of The Fly and Appreciation, was accused of philosophical high treason, while Dion of Prussia, who wrote the encomium on hair? What is this? What is this beef on philosophers on their hair? What in the rabbit hole am I going down with the hair and the philosophers? Anyways, this guy wrote the book was after Philostratus pigeonholed as some form of the sophist, since it's in the matter of sophists to take these matters seriously. And it goes without saying that a philosopher has no business in amusing himself with paradoxical encomium or ensomium, I don't know, fucking half these words, with the exaltation of what is low and paltry, or with problems. And no one would dream of sculpting in philosophical marble. Not to mention Michael D. person I don't fucking never heard of, officious expulsion from philosophy and his displacement into literature for having dared to reflect so brilliantly on such insignificant topics as thumbs, wearing clothes, smells, and idleness. Okay, you know, why is there skulls here with my man Leibniz? Really? Are they like, is that his skull? Like, is that actually like a rendition of a skull? The skull of Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz, projected onto a portrait engraving in which he is wearing his Baroque wig, published in whatever by blah 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 as quote unquote quote proof of authenticity of Leibniz's remain. Okay, so back in the day where they weren't actually able to like take pictures. So that's how Leibniz's remains look. Yo, that's metal. Metal. That's metal as fuck. Yo, let's do it. We need like a skull Leibniz sticker. This can't be like copyrighted or anything like that. Like, this has got to be like, I'm gonna save this. We gotta get like a Leibniz skull sticker. Bleh. Notice when I right click and say save image as, I don't have fucking lolly in my fucking like folder. Sorry, I was just making a jab at Vosh there. Anyways. Amusement, fun, essays. Margins in which Peck exiles from that century, philosophy recognizes as its own under the dictum of the real is rational and the rational is real. If after Plato, one of the tasks of philosophy have consisted of producing difference, distinguishing between the authentic and the spurious, who was going to say that right there, on the very heads of its apostles, it was necessary to set an untimely bird of ill omen that eludes the contrast between essence and appearance, the scandal of the simulacrum. What the fuck is this word? Yo, this guy is so wordy. It's like, I can keep up to it, like, with it, like, pretty well, but, like, let's see, pronunciation. Fucking pronouns.
Simulacrum.
Simulacrum? What the fuck does that even mean? Anyway, simulacrum. The wig that no longer aspires to resemble anything original, that claims possessions of its own imposture, its clearly false truth, and in the triumph of its lack of resemblance, its phantasmal apotheosis beyond life and death evades the degradation of being a mere copy of a copy? Oh my fuck, I have never thought about a wig like this before. Nothing but a sophist's head of hair. Hair with no other grounding principle than the impression it makes, without roots but flaunting its foliage. Mask hair, and where else but the crowns of the most distinguished philosophers? That have fucking hair. Are you serious? I gotta read this book. Yo, philosophers and hair, like, this is $25. Whatever, here. Where can I find it? It's gotta be like on Amazon or something. Yep, okay, it is on Kindle. 18 bucks? Ah, jeez. All right, I'm gonna get it. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna get it. Alrighty, alrighty. Oh, I lost my screen where I can like view things. So, anyways, Jesus Christ, so much like drama about somebody actually sat down and was like, you know what, it's actually fucked up that philosophers wear wigs because they're so like into like what is reality and what's not, and then they go ahead and like represent a facade of like reality on their fucking head. I need to know more of this philosophy. Loppy, we need to know more. I need this book. This is juicy. This is juicy. Oh my god, Philosophy Tube just released a new video. Shit. I don't think we can get to that today. Yeah, I don't think we can get that today. I don't know if it's anything really to cover. God, it's so hard to have subjects to cover. Okay, I gotta get back to my control room here because I accidentally like cut that out. So, anyways, I would like to talk about something really difficult. I would like to talk about Next Benedict. So, this is Next Benedict. This is a 16-year-old non-binary high school student. That recently suffered a attack by 3 older girls in their school, and these girls beat the shit out of them. Here's where it gets weird. The teacher didn't report anything, even though the teacher broke up the fight. And eventually, Nex was taken to the hospital to be treated for their wounds from the beating. Nex went back home and then later returned to the hospital and passed away. This is in Oklahoma. This story's been going on for a while now, and the more I think about it, and the more I contemplate it, and the more it runs over my head, the more it makes me sick. The more it makes me um just sick. Like, I don't know how to describe the pit in my stomach when I think about this. Um so let's just we're going to get through this topic the best we can, but it's really upsetting to me, like really upsetting to me. Probably one of the most upsetting topics I've covered so far in my streaming experience. If you don't notice, I have let me go to my big face. So I have Nex written on my board here. Just kind of, I just, it's so weird because like before I had my name, and now I'm just like, I put their name. So next, Benedict, a 16-year-old non-binary high school student. They loved nature. They loved watching the television show The Walking Dead. Next enjoyed drawing. They enjoyed reading, playing Ark and Minecraft. Next also had a cat named Zeus, whom they loved very dearly. Nex's family traced part of their roots to the Choctaw Nation. Choctaw Nation, I don't know. And so, indigenous, and we're on a journey to understanding more about Nex's identity. So, like many other parents of transgender and non-binary youth. So, on February 7th, Nex was brutally and viciously beaten inside of a bathroom at Owasso High School in Oklahoma, where Nex was a student. And Nex was taken to the hospital, treated for the wounds, released, and then readmitted the following day. And then it says Nex succumbed to the sustained injuries and tragically died. I guess at this point the police are coming out and they're saying that Nex didn't technically die of any trauma from the beating. But the thing is I've seen enough police processes to know that that's not necessarily true. That could be just what they know so far. So I believe it's still in investigation. And so far, police are saying we don't have, But here's the thing. If Nex passed because of the trauma to their body, does it really make a difference if it ended up being in a situation where they unalived themselves? Because that's what's going around. Is did they die from the traumatic injuries because they were released and then they were returned to the hospital? There's not a lot of details coming out, and that's what makes me think that there's a lot of litigation going on in this issue. I don't think those girls who initiated the beating, I don't think they're scot-free yet. I think there's still an ongoing investigation, and this is going to be really extensive. But I think somebody should pay, frankly. somebody should pay for this. So Nex's death is at least the second violent killing of a transgender or gender expansive person. According to the news reports, the Owasso Police Department was called out to Bailey Medical Center by Sue Benedict, Nex's mother, on February 7th, the date of the attack at around 3 p.m. See, why didn't the teacher report this to the police? This is what's so fucking, like, insane to me. Where's that teacher, and why? I have so many questions. The Owasso Police Department stated they were not made aware of the fight prior to being informed by Nex's parents, signaling that Nex's school failed to report the incident to the authorities. Why? News reports also just suggested that Nex was released the same day. So it suggests. So were they or were they not? Like, what's going on? We don't have details, and that's what makes me think that this is still under investigation. When things are heavily under investigation like this, they're not going to really release details to the public. They're just going to make general statements. So Nex was rushed back to the hospital the next day. In Oklahoma, received a tip from a woman claiming to be the mother of Nex's best friend. She claimed that Nex had suffered head trauma. She said that 3 older girls were beating on the victim and her daughter in the girls' bathroom. She also mentioned that the girls involved in the incident repeatedly beated Nex's head across the floor. All students, including trans and gender expansive students like Nex, have the right to feel safe and protected while attending school. That Nex was only 16 years old compounds the tragic injustice that they should have lived to see a fulfilling and authentic life. We continue to see a horrifying amount of violence against our community and our community's youth. Seem to be bearing the brunt of it. Our community's youth seem to be bearing the brunt of it all. Extremist anti-LGBTQ hate accounts like online troll Chaya Raishik, the woman behind the libs of TikTok, which we're going to get into, who was recently appointed to Oklahoma's Library Advisory Board, are perpetuating a vile and hateful narrative that is permitting these types of public attacks. Their hateful speech is having a direct negative impact on the lives of trans and gender expansive folks, including young students like Nex. Data from HRC and the University of Connecticut's report detailing findings from a 2022 survey of, statistics of bullying, which you can pause the screen at this point. You can pause the screen and read that. Nex's death also comes at a time when extremist politicians have weaponized trans and gender expansive identities is like I've never heard that before until this article. Like I've never heard that term before. That's really interesting to me. Stoking hate and discrimination through their vile rhetoric, already facing an onslaught of anti-LGBTQ state bills which have directed negative implications on their well-being, from educational bans on LGBT-centric... I'm sorry. The Owasso Police Department has notified district leaders of the death of an Owasso high school student. The student's name and cause of death have not yet been made public as of an active police investigation at sea. We will have no additional comment at this time. Um, Hi, Monica. Monica says my transgender child came out at 14 in Oklahoma. It was an absolute mess the way she was treated, but thank goodness I got her out of there. We moved within a few months. We moved shortly after she came out. She had gone to a private Christian school. They treated her terribly and wanted me to have her committed to a mental hospital to fix her. It should have never happened. It's scary how people lose their minds over this. I'm so very glad she is safe and happy. It's been 8 years since she came out and has a beautiful life. Oh, thank God. That has a happy ending. I am just like, thank you so much for sharing that. Like, truly, like, thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing that. Like, that honestly just gives me some hope in this world. You know, that there's people out there that are looking out for like trans children, because there's nothing wrong with them. It's the world that has something wrong with it. And this is why I'm really passionate in the philosophy I hold dear to my heart with like Neogenianism and stuff. Being Neogenian is that we want to create a better world. And here's what breaks my heart, and I'm gonna try and not cry. It really saddens and disturbs me and sickens me to know that the end of Nex's life was an experience that the world is a cruel and twisted and unsafe place. That the world is scary, and there's little people looking out there for you. So you know, they didn't get to have an experience of the best potential that humanity could be. And this is why it's just so important to me to talk about. And I know it's repeated a lot, and I know it sounds cliche, and maybe sometimes it sounds silly when we sit here and we say we really want to create a better world and a new world, and something that's like productive and helps humanity evolve. This just ain't it. This is not it. The world we're living in now, that isn't it. Next didn't get to experience that. Next got to see the world for its shadow and its ugliness at the end. And frankly, they didn't deserve that. Like, frankly, Next didn't deserve that. And I'm sorry. And fuck, I don't want to cry on the street, but Next did not. I'm not gonna cry to make a scene, but like, Next left this life and this iteration seeing nothing but the cruelty of this world and the shadow of this world. And Next deserved so much more. They deserved so much better. They deserved to see like the beauty of the world, and they deserved to have the opportunity to explore their potential and what they could do or accomplish or do for other people around them, helping their own community. And this kid is only 16. I'm sorry, I know I'm crying, like, and I know it's kind of like silly to cry. Maybe not silly, but just like, I've never cried on the stream before like this, but it's just so heartbreaking. It's just so heartbreaking to me that there's nothing wrong with this child. Nothing wrong with this child. And they got treated so poorly just for wanting to live.
Fuck. Sorry, I need to... I don't know. All right, take 5. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. I'm fine. It's just really upsetting. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Um, Honestly, there's more to this subject that I wanted to cover, but I'm just like so upset about it right now. I honestly don't think I can because I really wanted to get into libs of TikTok and how they contributed to this. Fuck, maybe I will. Maybe I'll just like enter into the anger stage. So next, went to school in Oklahoma, and there is a certain... Fuck, this just gets so deep. I don't even know if I have the headspace fit. I think I just might put a bookmark into this and talk about this in a video on Wednesday, honestly. I think I'm going to do that because I just, this is just really upsetting and like triggering for me right now that I don't think I can talk about it anymore tonight. I'm definitely going to do a follow-up video on Wednesday, so look out for that. But I think that's just all I have to say about the situation. Is as a Neogenian, I'm just disheartened and just sickened that this child just does not get the chance to explore their potential. And I think that's just the biggest travesty and the biggest sin in this world as a Neogenian, is to deprive somebody else of their right to evolve and explore their potential. That it chokes me up like no other. So anyways, yeah, sorry for crying. Morg, thank you so much for the super chat and the hearts in the world. Lee, thank you so much for the super chat. It's literally on our shoulders to be the change the world needs. Yeah, it is. This affects me. This affects me. And why I'm so upset is because I am just in that, like, that mindset, that absolute mindset, that Abraxian mindset of just like, we're all the same. So I'm just looking at this like a limb has been severed off me, you know, and I'm not comparing them to a limb. Like, I'm just saying like they're a part of me and their potential is taken away. And it's just upsetting in that sense, you know. It's really hard to, as a Neogenian, to deal with death, honestly. I think, you know, just because we understand death more or differently than others, it doesn't make the mourning really any better. I think there's definitely some other comforts, but it doesn't help a lot for me personally. I guess this is a personal opinion, and like, even though I'm Neogenian and I understand what death is and I understand that we don't really like cease to exist, it doesn't make it any easier when people go, because I'm just like, there was so much potential in this iteration that they had. It's just such a shame and such a waste of potential for them to just be gone, and in such a terrible way. Thank you so much, Lauren, for the super chat. Hugs. Yes, hugs. Sorry, I think this is like the most dramatic I've ever been on stream, but this honestly is the most. And I really wanted to get into like libs of TikTok and all that stuff and the other aspect about it, but I think I'm just gonna save it for a video on Wednesday. I'm gonna make like a 10 to 15 minute video about it on Wednesday, and we'll move on. Does anybody have any thoughts? Feelings? Questions? Outbursts? Does anybody have anything to distract me? I don't think I've ever been so upset by a subject before. We do have, hi, Susan. Hi, Susan. I'm just getting back from, I've been like crying on stream about this, and I've been wanting to get into the libs of TikTok, but like, I'm gonna have to like switch this over. I'm gonna talk about this in a video, because like, it's just, this is so upsetting. Like, I've already cried my eyes out on stream, and I had to take like a pee break. Like, it's super upsetting. Lee says, imagine being so delusional you go around saying how great society is and how we have no real issues and how much progress we made. More work is needed. Yeah. It is. Next, experience the shadow and the cruelty of world at the end of things, and they didn't deserve that. Fuck. Alright, we gotta move on. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't expect to get so emotional on stream. Something that does make me emotional, but, you know, it's at least like some catharsis feeling of justice, is recently, Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Frankie, earlier this Tuesday, were actually sentenced to years in prison, and it's 4 to 30 years, and we're going to explain what that actually means. And so I would like to watch, like I said, I did see it too, but the problem is like on Tuesdays I work, so when I watch things in the morning, it's like in a hurry, and especially like this thing, I was like, just hurry, let me get the information, and then I had to go to work, so it's like, I didn't really get to sit and watch it and like think about commentary and just like thoughts about it and stuff, so I feel like I actually have time now to watch this stuff with you. So we're gonna watch the sentencing of Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke. Now, if you don't know who Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke are, I'm sorry. It's like a deep lore. There's tons of information out there. I've covered this. I covered Ruby Franke well before she even got involved with Jodi Hildebrandt, which I find astonishing. So this is, even when I covered Ruby Franke, like, no, actually, I think I was interested in Ruby Franke and the controversy with her and her parenting skills or methods. And then once she hooked up with Jodi Hildebrandt and went into that Connections organization, I was like, oh, okay, we gotta like cover this because this is like really fucked up. My voice sounds fucked up now that I've been crying. Loppy. So we're going to watch not only the sentencing, but there's some interesting things at the end where they did some like interviews and stuff after the sentencing. So buckle up because this is going to be like really interesting. So this is all happening in St. George Courthouse. Let's see.
Bleh.
We're going to be skipping around a lot through this because obviously we're not going to watch all this dead air.
Is this for me?
That's for you.
Wow. Huh. I've never had that.
Yeah, if you need to set anything down and look at notes, or if you, is it high enough for you, or do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and pull on you real quick.
Oh, this gets bad.
For being in the desert, it's kind of chilly.
Yeah.
Because it's Utah. I'm sorry, just because it's southern Utah. Okay, the thing about Utah is like, yeah, it's a desert, but it's also a cold ass desert. Not all the time, but like during winters, yes. There is winters in the desert. It's like a high elevated desert. Sorry, I'm just so amused by this moment. This reporter is just like, oh my God. It's so cold. Oh, is this for me? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so windy. Like just out there, just like
Let me know if you end up hearing them or anything.
Okay, I can hear the feed right now, but I haven't heard them talk to me yet. So.
Okay.
And I think, aren't you starting the live stream in like 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So while you guys are doing that,
I love her. She's fabulous. I love this
we're good
downtime.
with you right now. I'm just gonna set up a couple more things.
So nobody told us, but they just took the feed live. So we're live right now.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
let's go. Come on, girlfriend.
I was not told.
Let's go, bitch. Give us an intro. Come on. Where's our intro?
Thank goodness I've gotten multiple texts from Vanessa and Matt telling me that the live stream is up right now. Thank you both for letting us know. We're just setting some stuff up.
Can I hear you okay?
All right, let's go, honey.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the IFB.
Okay.
If we have to stay in.
Let's go. Oh my fuck.
Is good.
Okay.
And then I'll try to hold it not like this, but rather like this. Okay, cool. Okay. Do you guys need more? Oh, the Boris question. Do you need more tests from me right now? Or do you want me just to come
No,
like
lady,
15 minutes or
I
so
need you to
before we
start.
go on air? On network air.
No, this is not happening right now. This happened Tuesday, by the way.
All right. Do you want me to hold? Yeah. You can. Okay.
You look really wet until I saw that umbrella. How's it going? Nice to see you. Okay. Hey, how you doing, man? Good, nice to see you. I'm gonna get set up. I'll see you after.
All right, buddy.
Oh my gosh, she's freezing her tits off.
You gonna be all right?
Usually I shiver until I start, like, once I'm on it.
Poor lady. She's out there. She's like, there's an 80% chance it's already raining. Okay, she's starting. She's going, she's going. She's getting it, she's getting it. Say something! Oh my god! The tension is just too tense! Oh my fuck, where's my weed?
To put us up to speed. So, Sierra, welcome. What do you got for us?
Well, Bob, today is Judgment Day for Ruby Franke and her partner in business and crime, Jodi Hildebrandt, here at the Washington County Courthouse in St. George, Utah. You've heard the story before. Last August, the pair were arrested after a young boy broke free from duct tape shackles and called 911. That boy was Ruby Franke's son, and along with his sister, Ruby Franke's youngest daughter, they suffered months of abuse. But okay, a lot has changed since then. Originally, it was 6 counts of aggravated child abuse per defendant, but when Ruby Franke pleaded guilty in December and then Jodi Hildebrandt shortly thereafter, those charges changed from 6 to 4. And that kind of...
So, yeah, I remember covering this, and I think that was the last time we covered this, was like a few months ago, where they actually, both of them pled guilty and made a plea deal. And so there was 6 charges of aggravated child abuse each, and they pleaded guilty to 4. So they dropped 2, and now they're just getting down with 4. Oh, my voice is, oh my goodness. Okay, let me turn down the video a little bit. So they pled guilty to 4 charges out of 6. The 2 were dropped, and so now they're only getting sentenced for the 4. Here we go, because they're both going to make statements, and this is going to get really fucking interesting.
Brings us up to speed where we are today. That is what is going to happen here behind me at the courthouse. Actually,
I'm sorry. They were in a relationship. I know that's a speculation. It's speculation, and it's my personal opinion that these two women were romantically involved. Just saying. Just saying. Oh my god, look at my face. Just saying. Yeah. My face is so funny sometimes. I love it.
the sentencing hearing just began. Each woman has pleaded guilty to those multiple counts, and we're expecting to hear more information. But the big question we have on our hands is, how long will they spend behind bars? Well, we don't know. You heard that right. We don't know. Today, the judge is not going to give us an official number, anything like that. The big thing we'll learn today, though, is whether those sentences will run concurrently or consecutively, though we do expect to learn more details from inside the courtroom today.
Soon. Yeah, I mean, this is like really like a fascinating case, and I was talking to the producer about this before we went on air, and I think that, you're there, you've got the feel of it. I think the reason why this has caught the nation's attention is both the backgrounds of these individuals, their seemingly normal life, the fact that Frankie in particular had a very successful YouTube channel where she's giving advice about how to raise your children. So there's such, I don't know if you'd use the word hypocrisy or just shock. What do you sense out there as the community's feeling? Is that why this case has caught people's attention, because of the things I'm mentioning, or something else?
Bob, I have spoken to multiple people here in St. George. It's kind of a tight-knit community.
I'm sorry. We interrupt this video to bring you Laura, who says, "My boobs are so droopy now, they can be used for a multitude of things. Tying down loads on a truck, leashing the dog, baby hammocks, handcuffs." My stomach hurts. The hell? Laura. Anyways, Laura's titties, everyone. Laura. I should stop laughing, but this is so funny. Did anybody sing that song as a kid? Like, "Do your tits hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow?" I think it applies to balls too. Dear tits, hang low. You guys are the best, honestly. You all are the best.
A lot of people here are LDS too, which is what both Ruby Frankie and Jodi Hildebrandt practice. So it is something that shocked a lot of people, because this is a wholesome area of the country. Not a lot of drinking, a lot of emphasis on family time. And so I think that's really part of it, is just the shock of something like this you don't expect to see in a small-ish town like this. I was just talking to people actually right before I came on air with you, and it's still months later, people are still shocked by the details.
Yeah. So what do we expect to hear from either of the defendants, Ruby or Jodi, and or any of the children, as part of a victim impact statement?
Okay, I'm glad that you asked this. Right now, we don't know, but are hoping to learn soon. So we could hear a victim impact statement from Jodi or from Ruby, either of them. As for the children, we're unclear. I actually want to read you a text that I received yesterday. This is from Kevin Frankie's attorney. So I reached out to him and was wondering whether Kevin Frankie was actually going to appear, if there was going to be any sort of victim impact statement from him or the children. And I want to read this because it's very interesting. He said, "Neither Kevin nor I will be making formal statements to the press, nor will Kevin be making a victim impact statement. Since the kids are still in the custody of Utah DCFS, which is juvenile care, foster care, I suspect that neither will they be. Our only comment is that we trust the judge to sentence them both to 1 to 15 years for each of the 4 counts to run consecutively. Then it will be up to the Utah State Board of Pardons to decide if that will be shortened or other conditions imposed." Now, here's the part that I really want you to pay attention to. "The treatment these children received at the hands of those who the children had a right to trust was horrific and inhumane both physically and psychologically. Kevin, Ruby's estranged husband, remains focused on the rehabilitation of these sweet and
So I don't know if you got this by now, but the way it works in the state of Utah is that with a second-degree felony, first of all, the second-degree felony has a cap of 30 years. So even if you have several second-degree felonies and you have consecutive charges, it's still capped at 30 years. So here's what I'm going to tell you what they already got sentenced with, because that's not like what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on their statements like during this situation. But the thing is both of them got sentenced 4 to 30 years. Now, what happens is there's a parole board that's going to, after 4 years minimum, have like a meeting with them and determine if they need extended stay or not. So that's what's going on here.
vulnerable children so that they might return to a normal life as soon as possible.
Well, Sierra, you're bringing up a couple of things now. We're going back and forth real good here, like a little bit like a tennis match. Okay, that's a beautiful laudatory statement, okay. But let's talk about Kevin Frankie himself. This is the father. This is the husband of the defendant. He was living in the home during some of the time that these events were alleged to have occurred, no?
So this is where things are kind of complicated. Utah is a great big state. I'm right down at the bottom in Washington County, and that's where this abuse allegedly happened, actually about 20 minutes from where I am right now in Ivins. But Kevin Frankie was north in the Frankie family home in Springville. That's closer to Salt Lake City. Now, ahead of all of this, because this all happened back in 2023, they were separated. But that was not the first time that Ruby Frankie ran into controversy with her parenting tactics, let's say. So Kevin Frankie was around for some of that when the police had been called up in northern Utah. But as for this abuse that the sentencing is for today, he says he knew nothing about it.
Yeah, and do you anticipate, and I'm just asking you to speculate.
I don't believe that. I'm sorry. I don't personally believe that. I don't personally believe that Ruby Frankie's husband had no idea what was going on. He had to have some idea.
Here, Sierra, that maybe he's not going to make a statement because he's concerned that he could potentially face some criminal law liability should he say something wrong?
I think that's an interesting point that you make. I have been in contact with his attorney for months now, really since this happened, and they have stayed kind of tight-lipped. The information that I have gotten, though, is that he wants to remain even-keeled. He says that it is his #1 goal to have custody of all his children. As I said, they're in foster care right now. So I really think that he's just doing his best to stay the course, you know, to do the best he can to have those children back. I don't know that he actually will face charges, but that's obviously something we're going to have to follow and see if it does develop.
Yeah, it's here also with respect to the mom. I mean, she's being charged now. Obviously, she's going to be sentenced to potentially, it seems like state prison for sure. It's just a question of how long a period of time. Do we know whether or not she's asserting any rights to have at least visitation, whether it be supervised or otherwise, when she gets out? What are her parental rights stand now?
Okay, this is kind of interesting. There's a lot of question marks in this case still, so we don't know all of the details this exact moment. But what I do...
This is a lot of just like commentary, and the only reason I'm showing you this is to just sort of like get a recap on like what's going on. But I don't know how much we need to recap. I mean, this is pretty good recap. We're gonna actually be starting the sentencing here in just a few minutes, so hold on.
No. After Ruby Franke serves her time, however long that may be, she will continue to be monitored by the Utah Division of Children and Family Services, so forever she's going to be watched. And as for her relationship with her children, there's no law that says they have to maintain contact with their mom. She won't have custody of them anymore, so I think it's really up to the children and their father whether they will actually see Ruby Franke or Jodi Hildebrand in the future.
I mean, I could see a future in which these children probably would reach out for a new relationship with Ruby Franke. Let's get into this more. Actually, let's skip ahead to the sentencing. So let's get there. Let's get there.
Leave. So that is very interesting what we're hearing right now. And I do believe, I'm so sorry that I'm getting rain all over my phone and it's not acting exactly how it normally should, but I do believe, yep, this is correct here. 1 to 5 sentences, 1 to 15 rather, sentences are all set to run consecutively. So that's what we're just learning right now. Those sentences will run consecutively.
Okay, all right, appreciate it, Sierra. All right, I'm being told that there's something going on with regard to sentencing in the courtroom, so let's go in.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to District Court. We're here for sentencing in the matter of State of Utah versus Ruby Franke. Ms. Franke is here with Mr. Windward. Mr. Clark and Mr. Sham are here for the State of Utah, and we are ready to proceed with sentencing.
We are.
Yes, Your Honor. Counsel, the terms of the sentence were agreed to as part of the plea agreement, correct? That is correct.
Yo, this audio quality, I'm sorry, is so poor. It's so weird. It's like, why is there's this such poor audio quality in here? I don't know why that's funny. Heretical response says, who's stirring her hair? It looks great for being in jail, right? All right. I don't know why that's funny. Anyways.
There is a pre-sentence investigation report in the matter. I have reviewed that. Everyone has seen it.
Okay, everybody shush, shush, shush. Shush with the shenanigans. Shush the shenanigans. Let's listen and pay attention to what's being said here.
Yes. What about restitution, counsel, before we move on with other matters?
We'd like to leave that open at this time, Your Honor. I can get into that. I might be more comfortable if we approach to get into that.
Is there an agreement that restitution, that we reserve that, and for what period of time?
8 months is what we're anticipating. But I haven't talked to the defendant's counsel about that.
We haven't discussed that, Your Honor.
Is there any objection?
No.
All right. What's the state's position regarding sentencing?
Your Honor, the state, I'll stand up. The state respectfully requests that the court sentence Ms. Franke to consecutive prison terms for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. This sentence was agreed to by Ms. Franke in her plea agreement and is also recommended by adult probation and parole. She committed horrible acts of child abuse. From May to August in 2023, Ms. Franke and her business partner held her 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment.
Yeah, this is a concentration-like camp setting. that describes it to a T. These children were held in a concentration camp-like setting. They literally, when they went through Jodi Hildebrandt's home, they discovered in her basement like sort of like a panic room, like vault type of thing with like certain sets of items, like 2 sets of clothes and like some rope and some cans of food. It was really fucking weird. Like, it was really, really bad. Really fucking sus. So when he says they were in a concentration camp like setting, he means it. Like, this is the prosecutor's words, and he very much means what he says. I'm going to back it up just a tiny bit.
And we are ready to proceed with sentencing.
We are.
Yes, Your Honor.
Counsel, the terms of the sentence were agreed to as part of the plea.
No. So it's 4 consecutive terms of 1 to 15 years. So for 4 counts of child abuse, at minimum, they're going to get 4 years. So 1 year per each account. At 4 years, the parole board is going to review the situation and to determine if they need to serve longer or not. And that limitation is actually up to 30 years. So it is 4 to 60 years when it's 1 to 15 years. However, Utah has a limit for second degree felonies that it has to be capped at 30 years. So even though the maximum would be 60 years, it's actually 30 years. So they're going to get 4 to 30 years with reoccurring chance of parole. However, with that in mind, the reoccurring chance of parole, I want you to keep that in your head as a little bookmark as you listen to Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt's statement in this sentencing, because it's going to really determine, and it's really going to set the context of how they might definitely get more than 4 years.
The agreement, correct?
That is correct.
There is a pre-sentence investigation report in the matter. I have reviewed that. Everyone has seen it.
Yes.
What about restitution, counsel, before we move on with other matters?
We'd like to leave that open at this time, Your Honor. I can get into that. I might be more comfortable if we approach to get into that.
Is there an agreement that restitution, that we reserve that, and for what period of time?
8 months is what we're anticipating, but I haven't talked to the defendant's counsel about that.
We haven't discussed that, Your Honor.
Is there any objection?
No.
All right. What's the state's position regarding sentencing?
Your Honor, I'll stand up. The state respectfully requests that the court sentence Ms. Franke to consecutive prison terms for each of the 4 counts of aggravated.
Okay, this is the prosecutor. Listen to what he has to say.
Child abuse. The sentence was agreed to by Ms. Franke in her plea agreement and is also recommended by adult probation and parole. She committed horrible acts of child abuse. From May to August in 2023, Ms. Franke and her business partner held her 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house where the children and the defendants were staying. The children were forced to do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs and wall sits or sitting against a wall without a chair or a stool for hours at a time. They were also forced to do manual labor outdoors in the extreme summer heat, at times without shoes or socks. They were forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the summer heat for hours and even days at a time. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization when they were found. The injuries from the binding to the 12-year-old are particularly awful. In addition to physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused to the extent that each believed, to some degree, that they deserved what was being done to them.
And that's what breaks my heart the most, is that Jodi Hildebrandt and her philosophy, which she already displayed when we watched that entire 3-hour video and interview with Jodi Hildebrandt's niece, who received the same abuse. We know that's her philosophy, and Jodi Hildebrandt is very good at convincing people that she's abusing the children that she's abusing, that they deserve it. And they genuinely believe that. They genuinely believe they deserve the abuse. That's what they're supposed to receive. Which is just insane to me. And keep in mind that Jodi Hildebrandt is a trained therapist and counselor. She can't practice anymore, obviously, but she knew exactly the psychological tricks to manipulate children to her will, which is really disgusting to me. And in my personal opinion, I think Jodi Hildebrandt is a sociopath. True and blue. My opinion. It's my opinion!
Had the older of the children not had the courage to run away and ask a neighbor to call the police, heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived in that situation. After being caught, Ms. Franke has shown considerable remorse, as evidenced by agreeing to serve consecutive prison terms and being willing to cooperate with the state against Ms. Hildebrandt. However, given the severity of the abuse she inflicted, consecutive terms are appropriate in this case. As the court's aware, Section 76-3401 lays out factors the court takes into account in determining whether consecutive or concurrent sentences should be imposed. Those factors are the gravity and circumstances of the offense, the number of victims, and the history, character, and rehabilitative needs of the defendant. As agreed to in the plea agreement and as recommended by adult probation and parole, consecutive sentences are appropriate. This is due to the severity of the abuse to both victims. It could be argued that Ms. Franke should receive a lesser sentence than Ms. Hildebrandt because of her remorse and willingness to cooperate with the state. However, the Board of Pardons and Parole will have broad latitude and will be able to take those facts into account when it determines how long each of the co-defendants will remain incarcerated.
So, I mean, it's pretty much out there that Ruby Franke is going to throw Jodi Hildebrandt under the bus and say it was all her and she was coerced and stuff, which, frankly, I think is valid. I think that's pretty valid. However, what I think needs to be kept in mind is that Ruby Franke, who was a YouTuber who YouTubed her family and her methods of disciplinary action, and she was already under judgment and scrutiny by the public for her very harsh parenting methods, her harsh disciplinary actions. So she was already under scrutiny for what she was doing before Jodi Hildebrandt even came into the picture. Jodi Hildebrandt wasn't even there. So by the time Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt met, I think it was a spark in a powder keg. I think it was just like the perfect storm. It's like you got two people with the same sentiment and they got together and they really inspired each other and rationalized and normalized their warped ideology on what needs to be done with children, in which their philosophy is that children are... I can't exactly say what they believe, but the children that they did deal with, they truly believed that in order to save them from evil, they had to torture the evil out of them. They had to make them uncomfortable enough where the evil comes out of them. So that's why they did harsh punishments, heavy labor, things like that. Just the belief that in order to save the children, they had to punish them. Now, my thinking is, with that sort of logic, is if you're not getting the result you want out of the child by punishing them, is the next thought to end their life, because that would be the ultimate way to save them. And I think that's probably where they would have gotten to had they not been caught and stopped by the young boy escaping for his dear life and running to the neighbors and begging for help.
In conclusion, we respectfully request that the court go along with what was agreed to in the plea agreement and is recommended by probation and parole, and impose consecutive sentences.
Thank you. Anything else from the state?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Windward?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. In my few comments this morning, and in the comments my client wishes to make in a few minutes, we are not suggesting, nor are we asking, that the court deviate from the stipulated sentence contained in the written plea agreement. I want the court to know that through introspection and reflection, Ruby Franke has become a serious student of her own actions. In the very early days of my involvement with Ruby, she was somewhat defensive, and she was still very much indoctrinated into a philosophy that was destructive. Fortunately, Ruby came to the stark realization of the errors in her thinking patterns and subsequent actions. To say that she was horrified by this realization would be to put it mildly. I have marveled at how quickly Ruby abandoned her defensive stance and moved toward her total acceptance of her actions and to her sentence today. So far, she has used her time in jail to unwrap the layers upon layers of deceit and deception foisted upon her over the last 4 years by an unscrupulous individual. Ruby realizes that she still has work to do in shedding those thinking errors and to reestablish a better and correct pattern of thinking and behavior. Ruby realizes that changing her thinking, reestablishing relationships, and healing are not simple or easy tasks. However, she is committed to doing that work. I would like the court to know that Ruby Franke is a delightful, respectful, and responsible person. She is open to feedback and addressing the consequences of her actions head on, and now ready to address your honor and accept your judgment. Thank you, Judge Walton.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was the statement by her defense lawyer. Eventually, we're going to start hearing from her directly. And she's heretical response. There's no way she got those curls without an iron. Okay, yeah, you know. She had to gussy up a little bit. She must have rolled them in toilet water. It's true, though. They really don't, she's in jail. And, they don't really have much to, gussy themselves up with. In fact, most of the time, you have to pretty yourself up with contraband. She soaked it in toilet water. That's so mean. It's so funny. Okay, enough with the hair. Moving on.
Ms. Franke has a statement she'd like to make.
So far her defense lawyer is painting the picture that in the beginning she was very resistant to what she has done, but then over time she started to accept and realize that what she's done was very horrible. Now keep in mind again that Ruby Franke was scrutinized, judged, and criticized for her terrible parenting methods before she even met Jodi Hildebrandt. Before they even met, she was already considered a bitch to her children. So keep that in mind.
She does.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we fucking go.
Judge Wall.
You don't have to bend down.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abused. My choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability. Jodi Hildebrandt was never my business partner, nor was I ever employed by her. I have never...
So she's saying right now, Jodi Hildebrandt and her were never partners in connections, and Jodi Hildebrandt never actually paid her wages, but they were still representing that together. I'm sorry, just because you weren't technically being paid, sure, from a technical legal business perspective, sure, perhaps you weren't technically her business partner, but you were definitely her partner in a very large capacity on that organization, on connections. Like, so that I think is full of shit. Like, yeah, perhaps there's some loose technicality where, yeah, we weren't technically business partners, but you were partners. Straight up. You partnered up with Jodi Hildebrandt. Mark says, yeah, partnership in enterprise is more broadly defined than payroll. See, she's narrowing down the description down to payroll. I technically was never paid. Okay, sure. But you were in cahoots. You were in cahoots, lady.
Received wages from her or connections. Jodi was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020 I paid her to be my mentor.
That kind of makes it worse, don't you think? It kind of makes it worse that Ruby Frankie paid Jodi for counseling and to be her mentor. So you gave this woman money to teach you how to abuse your children extra hard? You were already doing that anyways, but you paid this woman to teach you how to normalize it and push it more? Weird how you paid this woman that aligned with the values that you already had.
It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices.
And here's where I think Ruby Frankie is writing this purposefully, because she knows what people need to hear, or what people like to hear from somebody who is remorseful. I don't think she's actually remorseful. I think she's really good at knowing what they need to hear because of that.
It is my preference that I serve a prison sentence.
Oh, no. It doesn't matter if it's your preference, honey. You're going to serve a prison sentence whether it's your preference or not. So you saying it's your preference, it's not going to have anything to do with anything. Nobody gives a shit.
Thank you to the officers in Santa Clara and the Island City Police. Nick Hellman, Brian Palufo, Cy Pikuvit, Mike Pondoyo in Tobler, John Ward, D. Lewis, and Chief Flowers. You were the angels who came and saved my children. I especially want to thank Detective Jay Bate. She plucked me out of a situation I didn't know how to get out of. And the moment she handcuffed me was the moment I gained my freedom.
Okay.
You were not the controlling ones. I was. Thank you to the medical staff at Intermountain Hospital. Your skill, tenderness, and professionalism helped heal my children. Jodi and...
Yeah, they helped heal your children from your abuse. Why are you thanking them for that? See, this is so fucking weird to me. This is not an Oscar. This is not an Emmy. This is not an award show. And frankly, her statement is coming off like a YouTuber apology. like a YouTuber apology. Like it doesn't even seem fucking real. It's just so like, oh, I thank the hospital for healing my children. Why? You fucked your children up. You shouldn't have to be thanking anybody for healing your children from abuse that you inflicted. That is just so fucking odd to me. To be like, I thank you. Thank you, Mr. Policeman, for saving my children and handcuffing me. It was my freedom. Thank you, hospitals, for healing my children from the wrath that I inflicted on them. Thank you. Thank you. Where's my loppy? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. I'm a hero. I know. Don't. No. Stop applauding. Stop applauding. I know. I am the biggest hero in this. I thank everybody. Like, it's just so fucking weird. Is it not weird? Is it not weird that she's thanking everybody? You shouldn't be even in the position to thank anybody. And frankly, I don't think that's gonna work, lady.
I inflicted the injuries. Not the hospital.
Yeah, thank you.
To DCFS, the Children's Justice Center, Judge Basil, and other key adults.
Okay, here's what pisses me off. She's thanking the children's, like the DCF, like the Department of Child Safety or whatever. Her oldest daughter, when she came of age to move out of the home, called the Department of Child Services on her mother several times to investigate potential abuse within the home. So the fact that it took till now for those kids to escape with like serious wounds and injuries and like malnutrition, like suddenly they're injured. So it's like, why are you thanking them when you were pissed off in the first place that your eldest daughter was calling them on you? Yeah, like the bailiff is gonna whisper to the judge, like, she seems real sorry, boss. Can we keep it light?
Gathered my children under your wing and offered them love, compassion, encouragement. You were not the one.
Thank you for offering my children love and compassion and stuff. The shit that I could never do because I'm fucked up. She can't even like okay, it's like she's more focused on impressing them than she is taking accountability, frankly. And it makes me sick. Speaking less about the accountability, it's like a YouTuber apology. Yo, this just as well be Colleen Ballinger with a fucking ukulele.
Who were doing the brainwashing. Thank you to my Bishop Tom Hawks and my state president Jim Nelson for reminding me of the Lord's love for the lost. So much pain and suffering would have been avoided had I followed and heeded your counsel. I was the one who was deceived, not you. Thank you to the Washington County Prosecutor's Office, Ryan Sham, the legal assistants and discovery clerks. Eric Clark, you exempt.
This just is like, it's listening to like the next like Miss USA pageant. Like, thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming here today. For me.
Amplified to me how justice and mercy are meant to coexist. My charges are just. They offer safety to my family, accountability to the public, and they did show mercy to me. Thank you to my attorney, Lamar Windward, and his staff. I would not be where I am today without them. Thank you to Randy Kester for your limitless energy in healing my family. My dear friends, Pam and Roy, I'm so sorry for letting you down. Because of your association with me, your innocence was called into question. My mother-in-law, father-in-law, Kevin's family, my cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and neighbors, you all saw the warning signs long before I did, and you did what you could. You wanted to help, but I pushed you away. My mother and father, I have been utterly wretched to you. You have offered me unconditional love, and for that I have offered you unconditional contempt. My siblings and their spouses, because of my decision to roll around in a pigsty, I have dragged your families through the mud in public. Yet, when I desired to return as a prodigal sister, unlike the prodigal's brother in the Bible, you synced step with my parents and ran out to greet me. Your capacity to love is unprecedented. Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years, you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy.
That you created!
My heart, and that I'll never be able to undo.
Is it me, or is her thanking everybody going through that rigmarole? Is it me? Am I reading into this? But does that seem like a way to distance herself from her own actions? It's almost like she's trying so hard to accept accountability that she's almost avoiding it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, it just seems really like she's really distancing herself from it and just like focusing on these other aspects, which is like a nice gesture, sure, but it's like not really what you need to talk about in court right now. Sorry, Rover. And my dog, whom I licked over and over. Sorry, Rover. It's so weird. I don't know. Like, it's just so weird to... She just seems like, I don't know.
To my babies.
Oh, this is sick.
My 6 little chicks.
She's talking to her children now. The children that she abused, who she's calling a pet name of my 6 little chicks. Oh, I'm going to use the little pet name now to my little children. Oh, you poor my little chicklet babies. Shut up.
You were a part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently wanting you to say.
I was the mad duck. Yo, I love how she says I was the mama duck. Listen.
Because of my decision to roll around in a pigsty,
I gotta see this again. Hold on.
families through the mud in public. Yet, when I desired to return as a prodigal sister, unlike the prodigal's brother in the Bible, you synced step with my parents and ran out to greet me. Your capacity to love is unprecedented. Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years, you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together.
Sorry.
The ending of our marriage is a tragedy. You are wrapped around my heart, and that I'll never be able to undo. To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you were a part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently wanting you to safety.
Yo, she's saying that she was the mama duck who was consistently bringing you to safety, but like the translation, the caption says I was the mad duck. Like, that's more appropriate. You were not a mama duck. You were a mad fucking duck, bitch. I don't like the way she's calling her kids like a pet name and then just sort of like using that little emotional jab, like, I'm your mom, right? Like, you love me, right? Don't you believe I'm sorry? It's like, bitch, you were a bitch to them their whole lives. Why would you suddenly say this now? The only reason you're saying this now is because you got into legal trouble. And you didn't have the foresight to begin with to realize that what you were doing to begin with was bullshit and was going to end up in this way. Like, she dug her own hole. She dug her own hole, and when she got to the bottom of it, she acted bewildered. Oh, how did I get here? I just don't know. Bitch, you were holding a shovel and you were digging. That's how you got there.
I can see now. Over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I remember launching into darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented that I believed dark was light and light was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very...
Heretical response says, Kate? Who's Kate? Kids hate their parents for taking their TikTok away, but these kids are in the right to hate her. You know, there's this weird, like, Christian thing where it's, like, constantly, like, obey thy mother and thy father. Like, and then it's just this mentality of, like, always love your parents no matter what. Like, and frankly, I don't think that's true. Because I grew up in a scenario where my parents were fucking dicks. And it took me a long time, well into my adulthood, to finally admit that they were assholes. I grew up with assholes. They were abusive, manipulative, fucking psycho assholes. And sometimes you just have asshole parents. And I think it should be okay to have a society where you can actually have space to fucking recognize that. My parents were assholes, straight up. Assholes. And weird assholes, too. But they'll never hear me say it. I mean, one of them's dead, first of all, and the other one never will see this, and if she does, fuck you! No. But yes, no. Anyways.
Ugly. I took from her all that was soft and safe and good. I took from her your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. And I'm still crying. You're hurting your tender souls. You're so precious to me. I'm sorry. My choice to live in fear of the world has created a great vulnerability and a blind spot for me, where I have broken hearts and I've caused people to suffer and I have betrayed sacred trust. Watching my community respond to my charges with justice and mercy and grace and love is all evidence to me how wrong I've been.
You know, this audio quality, like, drives me nuts. Like, she's so fried out.
This world is full of really good people. And finally, I'm sorry for twisting God's word and distorting his doctrines. My greatest desire is to stand in his court someday spotless and confident. And Judge Walton, I know that standing before you today is a necessary step towards that end. Thank you to you and your staff for facilitating my opportunity to take accountability and to answer for my charges. I am humbled and willing to serve a prison sentence as long as it takes to continue unraveling all of the misinformation I have believed and bought, swallowed, and acted out, and for my family to heal and for the community to heal. And I understand this is going to take time. I'm committed to continuing my learning until all of my toxic layers are shed, and I am ready to re-enter as a contributing member of our beautiful society. Thank you, Judge Walton.
Thank you for your statement, Ms. Franke. Anything else, Mr. Windward?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else prior to the court imposing sentence?
No, Your Honor.
The sentence will be that Ms. Frankie serve 4 counts, 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Again, they will be served consecutively pursuant to the parties' agreement and the applicable statute. Under the applicable statute, the court finds that consecutive sentences are appropriate.
So for those of you who may not understand, consecutive is like she has 4 counts of child abuse that range 1 to 15 years. But because there's 4 of them, the minimum is 1 year each. She's going to serve a minimum of 4 years because you can't serve 4 accounts all at once in 1 year, right? It doesn't overlap. It has to be consecutive. It has to be one right after the other. So that's what she's getting.
Ms. Frankie, the last thing I do need to tell you is that you have only 30 days to file or to perfect an appeal of any errors of the court by filing a written notice of appeal.
There's not going to be an appeal. And the reason there's not going to be an appeal is because they already made a plea deal. There's not going to be an appeal. They already plead like to that. That would be weird.
With the clerk of the court. If you don't do that within 30 days, you will lose your right to appeal. You also have the right to the assistance of an attorney on appeal and to have one appointed if you cannot.
Well, you know what, Mark? This situation has pissed off enough people within the state of Utah that there's motions to change the cap of 30 years to more. Like, they're going to change that because it's a second-degree felony and not a first-degree felony. There's a cap of 30 years. If it's a first-degree felony, you get, like, the full, 60 years or more. So there's motion to change that because, there's a lot of people that are pissed off and thinking that this is not enough. There is no jury with this, right? Yeah. So because both Ruby Frankie and Jodi Hildebrandt made a plea deal, they pled guilty. And when you plead guilty to a charge, there is no jury, there is no court process in that. Had they denied it, then there would have been a very long, drawn-out court case where the children would actually have to come in court and testify and stuff. So Ruby and Jodi decided not to do that to, I guess, in their minds, they're saving the children from having to sit on stand and testify. So no, it didn't go to jury because they already made a plea deal.
Bet.
Burp.
Afford to hire your own. Restitution, as agreed by the parties, will remain open for a period of 8 months. Any of the parties can bring that matter back before the court within that period of time. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. The next matter before the court is State of Utah versus Hildebrandt, case 231501763.
Okay, so here's where it gets funny, folks. We have Ruby Frankie's big Oscar performance there. Now we're going to get to Jodi Hildebrandt, and we're going to see how the judge treats her very fucking differently. Because most of the eggs are in Jodi's basket, and it's not looking good. Ruby Frankie has the luxury of throwing Jodi Hildebrandt under the bus in this situation, to a degree. Despite her having been a terrible mother before she met Jodi Hildebrandt, she has a little leverage there, we got to admit. Even though Ruby Frankie's a terrible mother already, there definitely was fuel added to the fire when Jodi Hildebrandt came in. So Jodi Hildebrandt does have some responsibility in encouraging Ruby further in that direction, right? So we're going to listen to Jodi Hildebrandt's
statement, and it's not going to be the same, and it's going to piss you off. Check this motherfucking shit out.
Mr. Terry is here representing Ms. Hildebrandt. Mr. Shum and Mr. Clark are here representing the state.
Your Honor, we anticipated 10:30, and I'm not saying that we need to wait till then, but can I have a moment, please?
Approach.
Court is back in session. Wait to see.
Court recalls the matter of State of Utah versus...
You looking good in them stripes, bitch. Better get used to them.
Hildebrandt, case 231501763. Counsel are present. Ms. Hildebrandt is present. Counsel, there is a pre-sentence investigation report. I have read it. Everyone has seen and reviewed that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Again.
Okay, everybody, pay attention. Pay attention. This is where things get juicy, okay? This is the best part. Pay attention now.
And the sentence was stipulated at the time of the plea agreement. What record do we need to make other than going forward with sentencing?
Your Honor, it would be repetitive. I had the same statement, just with the last few paragraphs where I was differentiating between Ms. Frankie and Ms. Hildebrandt.
Okay, let's talk about housekeeping matters first. What about restitution?
And we've stipulated to keep that open for 8 months.
It is appropriate, Your Honor, since we don't have any evidence with respect to restitution, and that's because it is still in the process of being gathered by.
Okay, so what they're talking about right now before they get into things is that during this whole process, Jodi Hildebrandt is selling her home. Her home, or one of her homes actually, she has a few, is worth something like, I think it's like $3 million, either $3 million or $5 million. So it's a home with a lot of value that she's in the middle of selling. So the thing is like the people who are suing her, obviously the family, the children, they're suing for entitlement to the funds from the house. So if she's selling her home and she gets money from that, they are motioning for entitlement to that for restitution. So that's what they're talking about right now.
The county attorney's office, it's completely appropriate for the court to make no orders with respect to restitution other than to reserve all issues regarding restitution, and we have no issue with the eight-month time frame.
And the injunction that was previously issued by the court will remain in effect?
It will.
At least until that time?
It will remain in effect until further order of this court.
All right. Mr. Clark?
Thanks, Your Honor. The state of Utah respectfully requests that the court sentence Ms. Hildebrandt to consecutive prison terms for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse to which she has pleaded guilty. The sentence was agreed to her in her plea agreement and is also recommended by adult probation and parole. Ms. Hildebrandt committed awful acts of child abuse. From May to August 2023, she and her business partner held 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting in her house in Ivan City. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house. They were forced.
Okay, so the comment he makes about like how the children were hidden when other people came to the house, is that not like a clear indication that they knew what they were doing was wrong? Right? It's not like they were just so totally oblivious and thinking that everything was good. Like if other people came to the house, they hid the children. If you're hiding something,
then you're ashamed of it. You don't want other people to see it, and to some degree, you know it's wrong, right? Right? Like, am I in the ballpark there with that one?
Do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs and doing wall sits or sitting against a wall without assistance of a chair or stool for hours at a time. They were forced to do manual labor outdoors in the extreme summer heat, often without shoes or socks. They were also forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the summer heat for hours and even days. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Both children had extensive physical injuries from the abuse that required hospitalization to treat. The injuries from the binding are particularly bad. In addition to the physical abuse, the children were emotionally abused. They each believed to some degree that they deserved what was being done to them. Had the older of the two children not had the courage to run away and ask a neighbor to call the police, heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived. After being caught, Ms. Hildebrandt has shown little to no remorse for her actions. In telephone conversations that will be provided in full to the Board of Pardons and Parole, and which she knew to be recorded, she's repeatedly claimed that she is the victim and the children are the perpetrators. She's gone so far as to say that the things said in this proceeding and covered by the media today will be full of lies.
She very much stated and expressed that the children pretty much forced her to do these things, and that anything said against that in court, the court would be lying and the media would be lying. Here's where she gets nailed to the wall. She was in jail, and when you make phone calls from jail, they're being monitored by the judge, by the prosecutor, everybody. Your conversations are being monitored. She was caught red-handed expressing to somebody, her friend, that it's the children's fault that she had to do this, and that anybody saying otherwise, like the court and media, would be lying. Is that going to look good in your parole case? I mean, because at least Ruby Franke, as full of shit as she was, at least she had the audacity to go the other way. But she didn't have conversations about, like, how the children made her do it and shit. She has the luxury of throwing Jodi Hildebrandt under the bus. Jodi Hildebrandt, what does she do? And this I predicted long ago. And I should have like saved it and like brought it up. But I made this prediction months ago. I said very vehemently that Ruby Franke is going to throw Jodi under the bus, and Jodi Hildebrandt is going to double down in her narcissistic psychopathy. So let's get into that.
The combination of three factors make Ms. Hildebrandt a significant threat to the community. First, the severity of the abuse she caused to be inflicted on young children. Second, her attitude that everything she did was justified and that she is being wrongfully imprisoned. And third, her training as a therapist and aptitude for using online resources to convince others to follow her guidance. Utah Code Section 76-3-401 lays out three factors the court should consider in determining whether to impose concurrent or consecutive sentences. The first is the gravity and circumstances of the offense. The second is the number of victims. And the third is the history, character, and rehabilitative need of the defendant.
Keep in mind that these children are not the only people Jodi Hildebrandt has abused. She has abused her own niece in the same fashion. And as a therapist and counselor, she has wrecked many families and lives. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is not her only case. I think she's going to be involved in court cases in the future. And we're going to there's actually somebody who's going to show up. We're going to watch speak for a little bit who was a victim of her. And it's really interesting. And oh my God, there's so much lore. There's so much lore. So much lore here. Okay, let's continue. Plus Shamat says, I'd love nicotine. I'm sorry. You know what? I really need to quit vaping and at least stop vaping on camera. Anyways.
Has agreed to in the plea agreement and is recommended by adult probation and parole, consecutive sentences are appropriate here. This is due to the severity of the abuse to the two victims and the extreme need for Ms. Hildebrandt to be rehabilitated so that she no longer will present a risk to the community. The state respectfully requests that she be sentenced to 4 consecutive terms.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Mr. Terry?
Thank you, Your Honor. I will be brief. As is always the case in cases that come before courts, there are two sides to every case. And
I'm sorry. Did he just fucking say that? Did this motherfucker professional lawyer literally just stand up and say to the judge, as Your Honor, you know there's two sides to every case? Are you fucking kidding me? I am so dumb to law and court stuff, and even I know that's just an eye-rolling, just like, well, fucking duh, get to the point. Like, what a dumb waste of thing to, like, say. I'm sorry, that is dumb. That man is stupid for saying that. Like, why the fuck would you say that in a court to a judge? Like, this is your job, Your Honor. As you know, there are two sides to every case. Really? 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 Jesus Christ.
As and even in a case like this, that remains the case. There are many allegations regarding these two individuals, Ms. Frankie and my client, Ms. Hildebrandt. The only facts in this case that are adjudicated facts are those set forth in the plea agreement that she entered into freely and knowingly and voluntarily. Those facts, those adjudicated facts, are significant. They certainly provide a basis for the pleas and provide a basis for the stipulated sentence in this case. My experience with Ms. Hildebrandt is that she is not the person that she has been portrayed to be.
Okay. You'd be the only one.
But having said that, she has accepted responsibility in this case. She has entered into this plea agreement with a stipulated sentence of 4 consecutive sentences. She did that at the time she entered into the plea agreement, knowing that that would be the court's order. She is before the court today, knowing that that will be the court's order, and she fully accepts that. She accepts responsibility, and she accepts the consequences for her conduct. And we will submit it to the court.
Oh my God. Her sitting there. I know this is like extra, like, petty of me, but like her sitting there with that dumb blinking look on her face just irritates me.
On the stipulated agreement.
Mr. Terry, you suggested that there are two sides to every case. I generally agree with you.
The judge. The judge is like, you said there's two sides for every case. No shit. Like, that was a very nice way of telling that lawyer, no shit. No shit, Sherlock. No shit, Sherlock. There's two sides of every case. No fucking duh.
Ms. Hildebrandt didn't make a statement to AP&P in the course of the pre-sentence investigation report.
Correct.
Why did she not make a statement?
She wanted to reserve her right to make a statement before the court today, and she has a brief statement that she wants to read, Your Honor.
Okay.
And
all right. Ms. Hildebrandt? Go ahead.
I sincerely love these children.
Nope. 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 Her first sentence is, I sincerely love these children. Nope. Yeah, you love them. You love to fuck them up. You love to abuse the ever-living shit out of them. Yeah, of course you love children. You love to use them. You love to overpower them. You love to gaslight them and treat them like shit and treat them like your toys. Yeah, you sure love those kids. Yeah, in a very particular way, not in the way that you're indicating right now.
I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally.
From the pain you caused, really? How about you desire for yourself to get some fucking help, lady?
One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them.
No, you just didn't want to go through the hassle of trial because you knew you were in the wrong. You know what you're doing is wrong. It's not about the children getting help and health and care. It's about diverting attention to them and not you. What about you, lady? What are you going to do?
My hope and prayer is that they will heal and move forward to have beautiful lives. I am willing to submit to what the state feels would be an appropriate amount of time served to make retribution.
Just wait till what the judge says. Just wait.
And in answer to your question, Your Honor, I knew that whatever she might say to the author of the pre-sentence report would probably sound hollow and self-serving, and perhaps it does today. But I know that my client, in the statement that she makes to the court today, that statement is absolutely sincere.
Does Hildebrandt recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
Your Honor, she recognizes that she was, along with Miss Frankie, that she made decisions with respect to the discipline of those children that were wrong, that caused...
Do you see how this lawyer is wording this? Do you see how he's wording this? Do you see how he's saying Miss Hildebrandt recognizes that along with Ruby Frankie made decisions in respect to the discipline of those children that were wrong? This wasn't discipline. This was abuse. She wasn't confused about disciplining the children. She abused them. The lawyer is straight up refusing to say the word abuse. This is abuse. This isn't an error in judgment on discipline. This is straight up calculated and intentional abuse. This is fucking ridiculous, and this is fucking disgusting of this lawyer. She's a disgusting person. I don't know. I was just disciplining the kids. No, you were making yourself feel better by abusing somebody else, bitch. Shut up.
Harm to those children. She fully recognizes that and accepts responsibility for that.
All right. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Hildebrandt, this circumstance is tragic. It's largely, of course, of your making.
Yes. Yes, largely of your making, yes.
Measure. Your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children. Adults with specialized training in particular are supposed to protect children. You didn't do that in this case. In this case, you terrorized children, and the results have been tragic. What happened to these children and your philosophy in dealing with them frankly seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence. The court finds under the statute, Utah Code 76-3-401, that given the gravity and circumstances of the offenses, the number of victims, and the history and character and needs of the defendant, that consecutive sentences are appropriate. The court imposes 4 1 to 15-year sentences to be, again, served consecutively for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. The last thing I do need to tell you is that you only have 30 days to file or perfect an appeal of any error of the court by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the court. If you don't do that, you will lose your right to appeal. That has to be filed in writing and again within 30 days. You also have the right to the assistance of an attorney and to have an attorney appointed if you cannot afford to hire your own. Thank you. We're in recess.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks, Your Honor.
You notice how, like, the judge, like, really didn't have much to say about Ruby Frankie. He just kind of, like, gave her, like, the sentence. But, like, with Jodi, he was, like, straight up just like, you don't fucking, like, understand reality at all. Nothing you do or philosophize has any grounding in objectivity. Like, you, madam, are just fucked. Like, that was his nice, long-winded way of saying, you, madam, are fucked. So here's the thing. They both get the same sentences of like 4 to 30 years. Ruby Frankie maybe will get less. I could see her getting out in like 5 to 10 years. Jodi Hildebrandt, who was caught like voicing that this is all a conspiracy and she was falsely arrested and it's all the children's fault. I don't think she's going to get out as easily. I really don't. I really don't think she's going to get out in 4 years. Like, she's held under such more responsibility for the situation. We're going to go forward to, like, the after thing. Let's see here. Hold on. After the thing. Oh, come on. What are you doing? Come on.
Right now that there is actually a press conference by the prosecutor. Let's go to it.
So we're at the press conference.
Hiding things, and because the abuse was horrific, and it would have been apparent to anybody that would have seen the kids that something was wrong here.
Is this some of the worst child abuse you've seen in your career?
Yes, and not just in my career, but in our office's career, in our institutional memory, this is one of the worst child abuse cases that we've seen.
Do you consider this precedent setting?
Can you...
In terms of the actual sentences they end up serving?
No, because I think the board takes everything into account so specifically.
You think Jodi's going to end up serving more?
I hope so. I hope that Jodi does serve more. I think that would only be fair. I think that Ruby should serve. So the sentence that they got is basically 4 to 30 years today, right? The 4 1-year minimum stat, and then in Utah you're capped at 30 years. I think that a 4-year minimum for Ruby's actions are entirely appropriate. I hope that Jodi serves more time than that, and I hope that she isn't out of prison until everybody is completely confident that she's no longer a risk. And to get there, she's going to have to acknowledge that she has done wrong, and that you can't use religion as a means to justify your crazy behavior.
Do you think
Yes, you can't use your religion to justify your crazy behavior. I love that. Thank you. We're going to skip ahead to Adam Steed. So, if you don't know Adam Steed is a man who is in legal processes of suing Jodi Hildebrandt himself, I believe, because he is another victim. He is an adult man who is a victim of Jodi Hildebrandt, which is a separate case from all this. But he came to the press conference and he has a lot to say, and I just want you to listen to him, because the stuff he says is true, and I don't know, it's just very compelling. And Adam Steed also originally had a extensive interview with a podcast called Mormon Stories Podcast, in which Mormon Stories Podcasts were ordered by the court to take it down for some reason, and I don't know why, which makes it very suspicious. So let's just listen to this guy for a bit.
Sorry, I'm just trying to understand, why would the mother, in your opinion, deserve less time when she's torturing her kids versus a
prison sentence? Yes, it's for sale. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hi there. Okay, we've got another interview.
Do you guys want to know who Jodi Hildebrandt is?
Yes, bitch. Spill the tea.
I'll answer your questions. He's her attorney. He can't answer them. My name's Adam Paul Steed.
Yo, he just grabbed her microphone. He was just straight up like, give me the mic. You want to hear about Jodi? Let me tell you a little about Jodi. And just totally took the fucking microphone out of her hand and was like, let me tell you a little story. Oh my God, I have to pee. Hold on. I have to pee. Okay. All right, back.
And if you guys want to know who Jodi Hildebrandt is, I'll answer tons of questions about her. I know my dad. Hey, Dad, come here. Come here. My dad has a file at home that's probably about 2,500 pages of records from court filings and just huge amount of documentation about Jodi Hildebrandt that we will share with everybody. I want you to know the same court that has ordered us not to share these documents is covering up this racket that Jodi Hildebrandt had with the Mormon Church in the 4th District Utah County Court. She abused my children the same way, almost, even in a different type of abuse. I think it could be argued worse. And that was 15 years ago. And I fought against Jodi Hildebrandt with my family and everybody to stop this monster of a lady. And Jodi went after me. She went after me, destroyed my life in the craziest way you could ever think of possible.
Yo, Adam Steed is so emotional right now, like so emotional, because he got totally wrecked by this lady. And I think we're gonna look into Adam Steed next week, probably. We might do a deep dive into him, because he really was fucked over by Jodi Hildebrandt. So he's really yeah, she abused my children, she abused me, she ruined my life. Adam is a king. This guy is a king. Adam Steed is a fucking boss. He's a king, and fucking go Adam. Adam, get it. Fucking get it. I'm rooting for Adam.
I was a victim of sexual abuse at Boy Scouts of America, Camp Little Lemhi in Idaho. My dad helped us stop a predator. You can read it in the national press and everything. We changed the laws of sexual abuse so victims could come forward. We got rid of the criminal and civil statute limitations. The Mormon Church knew who we were. And Elder Helam, Richard G. Helam, was he was the president of the first quorum of the 70, the top probably executive functioning leader of the whole Mormon Church. And he sat with Jodi Hildebrandt as they destroyed my life in this court racket, like they've destroyed countless other people's lives. And they even had the gall to order my Mormon Stories thing, where I brought some documentation, off the internet.
Yeah, they moved to get him and his interview off of the Mormon Stories podcast. There was a 4-hour interview with Adam Steed about the details of what Jodi Hildebrandt did to him and how she ruined his life, and the court ordered him to remove that. Sus. Adam is king. Go Adam. Team Adam.
Saying that they didn't want me to say bad things to my children or in front of the children about my ex-wife. Well, if you're accused of sexual abuse by Jodi Hildebrandt, and if your ex-wife performed a falsification of sexual abuse, that professionals looked at the documentation and said, this is sexual abuse. This is sexual abuse. We have documentation for sexual abuse of my children by Jodi Hildebrandt and my ex-wife. And you know, this stuff was redacted in the Doppel paperwork. It was so horrible that it was redacted. And the courts just recently said I couldn't talk about my family or my ex-wife or anything, but if you have children, if your children were trained to think that your dad was sexual predator and a monster.
So I'm sorry, we came in a little bit late. Why is it that you wanted to be here?
Okay, so there are tons, and it's not Jodi Hildebrandt is the tip of the iceberg. The Mormon Church was doing this operation where they were using religious beliefs and they were using ethical therapists to enforce them, and it was an area of exploitation, and it was a horrific area. It was exploitation because it created horrible divorces that should have been normal divorces. We're talking about hundreds and thousands.
I am an ex-Mormon. This motherfucker is saying it's not just Jodi Hildebrandt. It goes deeper than that, and it connects to the Mormon Church. Yes! The church, the Mormon Church right now, is using this opportunity to distance themselves from Jodi Hildebrandt as much as they can, even though they were the ones who recommended her therapy services to tons of members. The Mormon Church has some responsibility in this. The Mormon Church has blood on their hands. He's calling out the Mormon Church, and this is why Adam is king. This is why I love Adam. This is why I'm Team Adam. This is why I'm pro Adam. All the fucking way, baby, to the wall. Take the Mormon Church to the wall. I am there for him. Fuck yeah, I am one of his biggest fans. Fuck yeah, Adam. This excites me. Take it to the wall, bitch. You go, honey.
Of families going through these courts, and Jodi was like an icon. Her doctrine. So here's the problem. Everybody.
So today it sounds like was a little bit of like justice for you too.
Oh, Jodi, yeah, Ruby Frank. When I saw Ruby Frank, I saw my ex-wife sitting there saying the exact same thing. My ex-wife would have said the exact same thing Ruby Frankie said today, and a lot of other women would have said the same thing. You have no idea how many victims are out there that their minds have been messed up so much with this. The prosecutor said that he said that the children thought it was their fault. All of the adult men think it's their fault. All of the women think it's their fault. I have had countless emails and messages.
Sorry, what was your name?
I'm Adam Paul Steed. I'm the guy that got Jodi's license from Doppel removed. Well, my dad and mom get the credit, but. You know, and they said that the Doppel department said, we have evidence here for criminal charges against Jodi. This is 13 years ago. It's identical stuff. So I almost fell over in the courtroom when I heard Jodi say that she loved those children. Jodi doesn't love children. Jodi's like Ted Bundy. In fact, one time I was in
Do you feel that she should have a longer sentence than Ruby?
Jodi, here's the...
Jodi doesn't love children. Jodi is like Ted Bundy. She wants to fucking abuse kids. Yes, this is exactly what I was saying. I was saying, yeah, Jodi loves kids. She loves to abuse them, overpower them, and use them for her pleasure. Fuck yeah, Adam. I fucking love Adam. Adam, I am Team Adam all the way. I want a goddamn t-shirt.
Problem. Somebody hits a person and runs. That's like two variables, a car and someone running. They catch them. Jodi's got like 30 variables, including a huge issue with the Mormon church racketing. I mean, they're all ducking low and covering. In fact, I looked at an email, and I can show this to you guys.
They are. The church is ducking. The church is also going to throw Jodi Hildebrandt under the bus. The church is going to be like, nope, we don't want anything to do with this lady, even though they had a lot to do with recommending her to families for counseling. They do not have perfectly clean hands.
This is factual evidence where it should have been a neutral person.
By the way, the reason I'm so passionate about the deal with like the Mormon church is because I am an ex-Mormon and I know how corrupt the church is. And I like to see them being called out for the bullshit that they do because there's a lot of it.
Person in the courts, Kelly Peterson, the guardian ad litem, when they were punishing me in the family custody courts, he said that my act to turn Jodi Hildebrandt in was an act of vengeance, and they took my kids away from me because I performed an act of vengeance. That's in this court was sitting there completely in bed with Jodi. They've done. I talked to Doug Thayer's daughter. She saw relations. I mean, these aggressive attorneys working with Jodi, Commissioner Patton. All these people know about Jodi. The BYU Honor Code office before they kicked me out of school for being a whistleblower on child abuse, I guess. Jodi Hildebrandt went there and told them I was the most dangerous man she'd ever met in her lifetime. We have hundreds of pages of this stuff of Jodi Hildebrandt working with top church leaders to dispel me. I got kicked out of school my senior year. This lady, we've got all this documentation of how she talks, how she walks. Now, here's what I do want to say. I don't like Ruby Franke, but I don't know her. I just think you have to be a selfish person to fall for Jodi's stuff. She's got a certain kind of carrot that gets certain kind of people. But Ruby Franke would have never done.
He's like, I'm not saying Ruby Franke is a piece of shit because I don't know her. But if the shoe fits.
On any of this stuff, if Jodi Hildebrandt hadn't been the mastermind and just completely created this. Ruby Franke's not dangerous in the sense she's not going to go out and do this to more kids, but Jodi Hildebrandt will. When we went to Doppel and we went to Doppel ordered her to go through all this ethical stuff. She went through the whole thing with shining colors and she turned around and did the same stuff again. I mean, even when she was teaching us that we were safe to come to her and stuff, she was abusing children at the same time with one hand and teaching a godliness with another hand.
So what's her motivation?
Jodi Hildebrandt had a weird relationship with my ex-wife. It was a dual relationship. It was bordering sexual in nature. I mean, she went through different women that made her look powerful and important. My ex-wife's dad was a Area 70 in the Mormon church.
This cover, I know it. Jodi is a closet lesbian. Her whole method is to convince wives that their husbands are weird fucks and that they need to leave their husbands so that she can have them all to herself. I'm telling you, this is a thing. Jodi Hildebrandt is a closet lesbian. Adam's like, breathe, Jan. breathe. Okay. No, but seriously, this makes sense.
And Jodi Hildebrandt wanted power, but I know her instincts. When you're in a pain and suffering, when you talk about something and she finds a way to hurt you, it makes her blush. It makes her feel euphoric. I've seen her act that way and look that way in the worst of circumstances. So I always compare Jodi Hildebrandt to Ted Bundy because nobody can figure out why a serial killer would kill people. Jodi Hildebrandt, she grows off of people's pain and destruction. And when she sat there and said she loved those kids, I almost fell out of my chair. The only thing her version of loving children is find a way to make them hurt more than anything possible. It's like an energy she feeds off of.
You're all grabbing. Thank you so much, Adam.
Yeah.
Adam.
Sorry, I didn't. It's a little traumatic for me, so if I monologue, I'm sorry. Does anybody have a question?
Covered a lot.
We got a ton of documentation. That 4th District Court's got to be ducking their heads right now because I do want to say something. There's countless children out there that have been raised to believe their fathers are predators because
he grabbed the mic from her again. Okay, he's saying there's many children out there raised to believe their fathers are predators because of Jodi
Hildebrandt. And the 4th District Court and other courts involved don't want to show they made mistakes. So who's going to help those children? Like, who's going to help them? Like, this is a court of public opinion. People need to find out the truth to go help all these children and help all these people come forward. And the fact that the court tried to silence me for being on the front edge of coming forward is just an example of how the same notorious people in power back then that allowed Jodi to do all this stuff are alive and thriving today. And if you give a damn about our children, you got to do the same thing I do and fight for what's true.
Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you, Adam. That was Adam Steed. Excuse me.
I am Team Adam all the fucking way. Adam is amazing. So I think that pretty much concludes what's going on there with that. I was planning on getting into Alabama law. But I'm at this point, like, we've spent so much time on everything else, like, I kind of am wanting to just, like, sleep on that for a little bit. But I will at least tell you kind of like what's going on. So in Alabama, they currently passed a law that says that embryo, so like if you have a frozen embryo for like in vitro purposes, like that is considered a child, and therefore like if you freeze an embryo, like you're literally like abusing a child. There's a lot of conversation to go with that. And like I said, you know, I feel like we just spent so much time on the other topics today. Also, the issue with Nex Benedict, just honestly, it kind of took a lot of energy out of me because it hits too close to home, where I am a non-binary person and I'm reading a story about how a child non-binary person is lost their life because of the cruelty of the world. So I just, you know, I really wanted to get into the Alabama stuff, but I think I might just end the stream here. Normally we have like a palate cleanser at the end of the day. Oh, okay. I know what to do for a palate cleanser because this is something that I've been really into lately. So here's the palate cleanser I'm going to end with for the night, and it's something I've been really into lately. Let me look it up. Let's see. So, so lately I've been getting into this live camera feed from Big Bear Valley, and it's in Southern California. And it's a live feed camera of a bald eagle's nest. Now, there's a mating pair of bald eagles that are currently sitting on, like, I think it's like 3 or 4 eggs. But this is a live stream, so this is actually happening right now. You can find it at the Big Bear Valley live stream. So there's a mating pair of bald eagles. The female's name is Jackie and the male's name is Shadow, and they'll switch on and off, sitting on the eggs and bringing each other food and stuff like that. So lately I've been in this habit of, I want to check my chickens. Like, this first came up in my feed and it wasn't going away. And so I clicked on it and I'm like, oh, what is this bald eagle thing? And then ever since I clicked on it, it just keeps coming up in my YouTube feed. So I have to just keep clicking on it and just checking on the chickens. So as you can see right now, it's nighttime. And this cute little bald eagle is got its head tucked into its back because it's sleeping. It's nighttime. It's sleepy right now. Look at it, just very like at peace. A sleepy little bald eagle sitting on its eggs. So this is my palate cleanser for the night. Like, I just, I gotta check my chickens. Like, we gotta check the chickens. We'll check the chickens. Oh, it's a big bald eagle. My sweepy. Wow, it's sleeping. Don't bother it, it's sleeping. It's kind of like ASMR too, because it's just like, I don't know. Just like very calm, hearing the wind, just like looking at a peaceful eagle. And during the day when it's awake, it just kind of sits there and looks around. And it's really cute. They're very peaceful. Oh. Hey Elise, how's it going? Elise says my mom has been totally into this cam feed, has been giving me updates. It's addictive. Yo, because I don't know, I'm just like so concerned about like how the eagles are doing. Like, I gotta check the chickens. I gotta check the chickens. And I just been able to get to a point where I can tell the difference between the male and the female. Ow. Uh-oh. There's like a live feed and everything. Anyways, let's sign off for the night. I'm sorry we didn't really cover more of the libs of TikTok situation or like the Alabama thing. It's just, it's kind of been like a weird night. So I think I'm ready to, hang up and sign off for now. But I really appreciate all of you like coming and hanging out with me and feeling with me. And I also want to shout out to everybody who's super chatted and donated. It really means a lot to me. You know, just a reminder, nobody has to give me money or anything, but when you do, like, it does help and it is very appreciated. And if you can, awesome. And if you can't, please don't worry about it. Like, please don't. Like, if you can't afford it, don't give me your money. Like, give your money to yourself, you know. But I really do appreciate everybody coming here and showing support, and all of the moderators in the house. Thank you so much for coming and like hanging out and paying respects and keeping the place nice. And you know, shout out to Nex, that beautiful, beautiful person who tragically had to end their life, or the life was ended, I mean. So, oh, sleepy eagle. Sleepy eagle. So, yeah. And happy birthday, Imaginista. Like, happy birthday, bitch. Happy birthday, bitch. Happy birthday, bitch. Let's do some cakes in the chat for Elise. Happy birthday, honey. Let's say do some cake. Cake. Cake in the chat for Elise. Happy birthday, honey. I hope you're having a good birthday. Ah. Yeah. Anyways. Letting the chat catch up here for a minute. All right, good night, everybody. And I'm going to leave you with a picture of Nex, for sort of like a respect and moment of silence. So I know we're ending the stream, but for all of you who are still with us, if you could just take a minute of silence and just pay respects to Nex for their passing, it would mean a lot to me. So just like a moment of silence for Nex. So all right. We'll see you later. All right, everybody. I love you. Good night. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get this picture, like. Hold on. All right, here we go. All right, so here's our moment of silence for Nex to leave with the evening. So please hang around and just pay some respects to Nex, please.